American Timelines is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network. Find out more at queencitypodcastnetwork.com.
So now I'm obsessed with time. Come on, tell me about the time. Had it all in my hand tonight. Had the time of my life. When the words all come down like blues on Tuesdays gone down. Throw it all away. Throw it all away.
Oh, this is exciting. We got the Scottish guys. The Scottish guys.
Yes, and should we start?
Yeah, I guess we're ready. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Are you scared?
We're good.
Yeah.
Never.
Welcome to another episode of American Timelines. I'm Amy, and that's Joe.
And we are History for Jerks, and we are joined once again by some wonderful guests from across the pond.
Yes, our Scottish friends are back.
Please welcome Daniel Beaton and Nate Fordyce Wright.
You'll
Yes.
never get rid of us.
We love it.
From
It's been a while. I think it's been about a year.
Yeah, so these guys are now from at least 4 Prats on YouTube. Am I saying that right?
Awesome.
Prats.
Yeah.
No, that's
Yes,
not how you're
Prats. Nice
No,
American
coyotes.
Prats.
God, Lord.
So you guys are, is there 4 of you on at least 4 Prats?
Yeah, so there's myself, Daniel, Kieran, and John.
Okay.
And we've done a few podcasts just under that name. That's where you'll find us. So we do one called Nicolas Cage International Treasure, where we are watching every single Nicolas Cage film, TV show, advert, anything he's been in. Really, we're gonna dig it up and we're gonna watch it, and we're not gonna review
The
it.
end game
properly.
is to get us to notice him. So if there's anyone connected that's listening to this right now, get us to get him to call us.
All we
right.
want is Nick Cage in this little flat in Dundee, just to have to sleep on the pull-out sofa next to Daniel. Like,
That's all you want.
That's
That's all you ask.
Yeah.
everything.
And we think he's the type of guy that would go for some weird shit like that. So
Yeah.
so we're hoping and praying.
We just want to sleep in the same room as you, Nicholas. It's not weird. It's not weird.
Exactly.
Just want to feel your breath on our necks.
I just want
right.
to hear what your snore sounds like, Nick. Please. That's
Come
all.
Come on.
All right, and today we are going to talk about 1959 some more. We're going to talk about
Yes.
June and July, and some April, and some. What was the other?
December.
December.
It's a little bit of April. We're going to jump back to June and July where we are because
Because we've got to do some Scottish timelines.
yeah,
as
when
well.
you have some Scottish guests, you have to bend to their will. You have to be welcoming to our overseas friends. That's called globalization.
Scotland is a mighty country, and we are the ones in charge.
Yeah,
We
they're bullies. And I forgot to tell you before we started recording. I want to tell you this, that there's an intern where I work right now, and she's from our town here in Waxhaw, and she is currently going to school at University of Glasgow.
Oh,
Glasgow. So she's here for the summer, but she's going back there.
that's dead posh.
so- I asked her if she'd be willing to go to Dundee to deliver something to you guys, and she said she would. So
Ooh,
whatever you want,
Whatever you want,
whatever you want from our home.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to think about
just
that.
not the dogs.
Oh,
not the
come
dogs.
on.
You name it.
Bring us some of that beer that you're.
Yeah, a
drinking
little
right now, if
slurp.
you
I
can.
should see if she can bring this little slurp over. I don't know if she can bring beer on the plane because they don't allow liquids.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
She can
Might
buy it at
slow.
the airport. I could give her money to buy it at the airport, maybe.
Yeah. All right. So
So anyway, we'll figure that out.
You can have it in your check-in. Yeah, that's just semantics.
Yeah, so let's start. So we're going to start with Daniel's going to start with a birthday. We're going to start with a birthday. So hit it, Matt Trumanigo Trip, with the birthday theme song.
Amy hates birthdays. Amy hates birthdays.
And Daniel's going to take it away with an April 1959 birthday. What's the date, Daniel?
So it's April 18th, 1959. I think you might like this birthday, actually, Amy,
okay.
because it's the birthday of a murderer.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. So, as we said before, Scotland bends the rules a little bit. So I've bent the rules with this as well. So he was actually born in London, but
That's
his
all
dad
right.
was Scottish. his dad was Scottish, and his crimes were largely committed in Scotland. So
That's
we're going to
okay
run.
then.
So
That's fine.
Yeah, that helps.
That works.
we're looking at Malcolm John Webster.
I've never heard of him.
So his father was Alexander Robertson Webster of Kincardine in Fife, which is probably about 40-50 miles away from where I'm sitting right now.
Fife.
Fife. Yes, Fife.
The Kingdom of Fife.
So, ironically, his dad was the head of the fraud squad at Metropolitan Police in London, holding the rank of Detective Chief Superintendent. And Malcolm's mum was Odette Blewett, a former nurse.
Okay.
Now, when he was a child, he was a bit of a troublemaker. He was prone to pretending to faint. He grew up largely sheltered, and he had a bit of a penchant for fires,
Oh, wow.
which ended in the nickname Pyro.
Oh.
And he left school
Wee
at
Pyro, man.
15 with no qualifications. But in his adult life, he found work as a bin man, a driver, an office clerk, and a nurse.
Now, a bin man in your terminology is a garbage man, right? In our
A garbage
terminology,
man, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to
Yes,
change
you
it.
go
I'm just
round-
like for the American people, like that's what a
That's
bin
fine.
man
It's
is.
good to get.
It's not
good
it's
to-
not a
good to
group
get
of people who live in bins over
A bin
here.
man.
Yeah.
A bin man.
A bin man.
So he was a bit of a piece of shit, and in his teens he lied about having cancer quite a lot.
Oh,
Oh,
gosh.
that's
Probably to
shitty.
garner sympathy.
Who
So
hasn't done that? I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
he's
Yeah.
Later in life, when he was analysed by a clinical psychologist, police profile has labelled him a sociopath, which is not
sounds like it.
entirely, which is pretty fair from what I've read.
Sounds about right.
So when he was 30, he worked in Tawam Hospital on the children's ward in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. But within 6 months, he was forced to resign following an investigation into the deaths of 3 children under his care.
Yikes.
All 3 children had been under 6 years old and died of cardiac failure, which is unusual for children of that age.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But due to Islamic culture forbidding post-mortems and favouring quick burials, there was insufficient evidence for a police investigation.
Right.
His former co-worker and girlfriend, Beth Brown, has stated that Webster's supervisors had discovered that he had been injecting himself with insulin and formed the opinion that he had killed the children with insulin injections.
Ugh.
Oh, man.
Jeez.
Yeah. So it's reputed that his father, a senior police officer, used his influence to get his son out of the country, but Webster denied these allegations. So he was being described in his life as a thief, a liar, and a philanderer. He had habitually pursued relationships with women, usually wealthy ones, and relied on them to supplement his income. Reportedly, his favourite saying was, "Why work hard yourself when someone could be doing it for you?"
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that.
So
I'm actually down with that. The other stuff, the
He
killing
doesn't seem so
children
bad.
with the insulin, I don't like that, but I like that part.
So his sort of main crimes start, or confirmed crimes start, when he married a woman called Claire Morris, who's from Old Meldrum in Aberdeenshire, which is up north in Scotland, on the 3rd of September 1993. During the course of their marriage, he drugged her with temazepam, which I believe is a muscle relaxant, if I'm not mistaken. And on the 27th of May 1994, he drugged Morris, she was 32, and deliberately crashed their car on the Auchenhuvie to Tarvis Road in King Goody, Aberdeenshire, and then set it on fire with her in the passenger seat.
Oh, jeez. Yikes.
He twice informed an off-duty policeman who stopped to help that there was no one else in the car before it exploded. He claimed that he'd swerved to avoid a motorcyclist coming at him in the wrong lane and received a £200,000 life insurance payout from his wife's death.
Oh, my God.
Now, £200,000
Oh, stop.
Yeah,
is
so that's
equal
probably
to.
about
It's about $1. It's only a few more.
It's about $1. No.
Now, yeah.
No, it's about the same as dollars. It's just like a little bit more. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so it's probably about 235, 240 grand, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he
He got
spent a
away
week
with
in
that.
hospital. Yeah. So after extensive testing, the hospital was satisfied that he was uninjured. Even his pulse and heartbeat were normal. Webster, however, claimed that he had been injured in the car and even wore a neck brace at the funeral.
Mm.
And there was lots of things after it was confirmed that he'd pretty much killed her just for the life insurance. There was her family basically fought to stop her married name going on her headstone.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
You wouldn't want
because
that.
of just the association.
He friggin' murdered you.
Yeah, so shortly after she died, he started a relationship with Geraldine Oakley, and he kept. She became suspicious of him as he kept asking her if a second autopsy was likely to be carried out on his first wife.
Oh, that's a clue.
Yeah, and she testified on 2 occasions that she had gone to voice her suspicions to consultant psychologist James Grieve, but had always stopped at the last minute. And then a year after Claire's death in 1995, when he was living in Saudi Arabia, he struck up a friendship with Brenda Grant via the phone. And he repeatedly offered her drugs, but she refused, and she considers herself lucky to be alive.
Yeah.
And then he was then married to Felicity Drum, who he attempted to kill to fraudulently claim $750,000 from 9 insurance policies.
Whoa.
Jesus.
9?
Yeah.
Hey, if he's taking out 9 insurance policies on you, you might have a problem. You might want to get
Some
away.
red flags.
Yeah.
How did your first wife die? Don't worry about it, but I'm rich now. Also, can you sign these forms, please?
9 of them, please. In triplicate.
And he had a string of other relationships, including a girlfriend he had who was 15, who aborted their baby, a woman who later ended her life, and a married woman, and they've all declined to be identified.
Mhm.
Jesus Christ.
So his last relationship with a woman called Simone Barangi, whose house was searched by police after they received information that Webster had embezzled funds from an angling club. During the search, the police seized a stolen laptop, an unlicensed gun, which Webster claimed was an antique. An investigation into Webster called Operation Field was launched in 2008. The police subsequently announced they were re-examining Claire Morris's death. At the same time, the New Zealand police began re-examining the second crash, which was, so he'd caused 2 car crashes to basically kill his wives.
You'd think he would. You'd think that he would like realize that that's suspicious to do the same method twice.
He'd spice it up a bit, you know?
Yeah.
Mix the things up. Yeah.
Maybe a boat crash next.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should start a consulting podcast for murderers.
Yeah, really.
Like, try this to get away with it.
And finally, on the 19th of May 2011, after the longest ever criminal trial in Scotland with a single accused, he was convicted and found guilty by a jury of 9 women and 6 men. Some of the verdicts delivered by the jury were unanimous and some were by majority. He was sentenced to life imprisonment on the 5th of July 2011 with a minimum sentence of 30 years. He was consequently removed from the nursing register, you'll be glad to hear.
Good.
He's
Stop him from being
he
a
reportedly
nurse.
told inmates that he expects to die in prison and has been described by one inmate as being really boring. Which I think is a hilarious detail.
He's still alive then? Still in prison?
Yeah, he's still alive, and he's been reported to have been attacked by other inmates. He refused to shower for months on end and ultimately hired a convicted child molester to protect him.
Oh my God.
You know you're desperate.
Yeah, so
when
there's
you do that.
Yeah.
Right. There's been a few appeals throughout the years, but each one has been rejected, and he remains in prison to this day.
Okay.
Wow.
So that is the story of Malcolm Webster, and you can actually learn more about it. And there was a program that was, I believe, on STV or ITV made a couple of years ago called The Widower, that was about his crimes.
Malcolm Webster, the widower.
And he was played by Yeah, he's played by a famous actor over here called Reece Shearsmith. It's very, very good from what I've seen of it. So if
cool.
All right.
you want to learn more about Malcolm and probably hear it in a more interesting way than I have just recounted there.
No, very good
Show.
job. That was very riveting.
No, that was good. Yeah, that was really good.
So yeah, there you go. Maybe that's a birthday that you didn't totally hate him.
No, yeah, Amy. As long as it's a murderer, as somebody's murdering people,
It was interesting.
Yeah,
So that's what makes it different.
And
Could have done with more diverse murders, though.
Yeah, more diverse murders. Yeah. And I think, Aim, this is good that we went back to April because we forgot something at the end of May last time, and so I think since yours is the end of June, we'll just stop in June and then jump to Nathan's. That way we fit everything in without going on because I got a lot in June.
Okay.
But first, at the end of May, one thing we forgot in the last episode: singer Billie Holiday, super famous singer, was taken.
Singer.
Yeah, she was taken to Metropolitan Hospital in New York with liver and heart disease, where she was like on her deathbed, but she was arrested for drug possession as she lay dying. Her hospital room, her hospital room was raided by police, and she remained under police guard until her death in July. By early 1950s,
see the American criminal justice system works so good. If
oh my god,
this is exactly. This is like the sort of the start on the war on drugs and this kind of shit. Like they handcuffed her to her hospital bed.
That's fucking terrible. Man.
Yeah,
it's awful.
By early 59, she was diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver. Although she had initially stopped drinking on her doctor's orders, it was not long before she relapsed. And by May of 59, she had lost 20 pounds. Her manager, Joe Glazer, jazz critic Leonard Feather, photojournalist Alan Morrison, and the singer's own friends all tried in vain to persuade her to go to the hospital. And finally, on May 31st, she did. And she was taken to the hospital for both liver and heart disease. But she had been pursued for months by the Bureau of Narcotics, mainly for her history of drug use.
God, leave her alone.
She sings one of my favorite songs.
Which one?
Strange Fruit.
Strange Fruit, yeah. And so they actually the officers, there was some controversy of people claiming people were upset by that song, and that's why the FBI was following her and stuff. But later, as other reports,
they're getting called out on lynching black people.
Right, exactly right. Yeah. So, and so there was.
It probably was
about of that being part of the reason they're following her and looking at her.
They went after Martin Luther King too.
Probably is. Probably is. So, and then the narcotics police went to her hospital room claiming they found heroin in her bedroom. And
that definitely wasn't planted.
Yeah. They were arrested, handcuffed to her bed, placed under police guard. So yeah, that's shitty.
Was that kind of similar to Marilyn Monroe when she died? It was like there were drugs found there that probably weren't.
Now Marilyn, I think, was on drugs. I mean,
they found empty pill bottles.
Right.
Yeah, she was really troubled. Marilyn was.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, to be that much of a beauty icon, and then,
she had horrible upbringing and everything.
Yeah, horrible childhood. Men used her like crazy, and that's gotta be hard. I mean, and for Billie Holiday to be a person of color, a woman of color with that much talent, and then to have that song, like you said, calling them out, sort of, that's all kind of it. And then in more uplifting news, on June 1st, 1959, which was a Monday, 4 days after her flight into space, Miss Abel, a rhesus monkey, died of a reaction to anesthesia during surgery to remove the electrodes that they installed in her body to send her to space.
Yeah, uplifting. I mean, uplifting, literally.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Amy gets mad every time I mention these animals they sent to space.
But... I know. These poor things are probably terrified.
Yeah.
They don't understand what the hell's happening.
Yeah, they barely understand.
It's all hell.
Oh my God.
Filled with Valium.
I think the first thing that was sent into space was a Russian dog called Laika who died.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Space. It's horrible, man.
Yeah,
it is.
We talked about it. It had not even enough room to like turn around. And it was terrified and whatever. But it died because of like heat. Like they think it made it to the orbit, but then it was like the insulation or something messed up and it like like sweltered, like burned to death, sort of. Like
Did it get a little helmet?
150 degree. It had a helmet, I think. It was like
Oh.
150 degrees in there or something.
God.
Freaking assholes, yeah.
Poor little thing, man.
And then on June 2nd, 1959, according to ebrary.net, 12 people were killed and 15 injured in a town called, I think it's Schuylkill Haven, Pennsylvania. It was an explosion of a propane
Yeah, that
truck.
sounds right.
Well, I'll spell it for you. Schuylkill.
Yeah, Schuylkill.
Schuylkill.
It sounds Dutch.
Schuylkill.
Like
It's probably Schuylkill.
Not enough vowels in there.
Yeah. But a propane truck exploded, caught fire 30 minutes after allegedly being rammed from behind, and many of the victims had been watching from a distance as it exploded. The tanker let loose and flames swept along the road like a ball of fire, killing people, milling about. A trooper directing traffic said. State Police Sergeant Melvin Clauser reported that a tractor trailer ran the rear of the gas truck, setting it on fire. It was half an hour after the crash that it blew up. That the firemen were fighting the flames, and then it exploded, I guess. So it caught on fire. They were putting it out, and then it exploded. Motorists who climbed out of their cars to see what was holding up the early morning traffic, and just the idle curious were watching distances from 100 to 300 feet up the highway. Some of them, a number of firefighters were killed. At least 15 others were injured, 5 seriously. Frank Toohey, a Pottsville Republican reporter, said parts of bodies were strewn over the highway. His partner, photographer Vince Nee, said the sight was sickening as anything he'd seen in military service. The flames shot 150 feet in the air from the gas truck, and there was a terrific explosion. Parts of a stone wall outside a historic church were blown forward. Groups of spectators about 200 to 250 feet away from the fire were mowed down.
Whoa.
The tank of the truck landed in a field 220 yards away. Yeah, they said
from the explosion.
Yeah. And there was a school bus that was like right in front of the truck.
You guys should be like, yards. What is that in?
Yeah. Only Americans do that.
I know.
Of course, everybody else explained to us. Yeah. Anyway, the school bus got away. When he saw the crash, he took off and got away. But Ron Kramer, the school bus driver, was quoted to say that heads, legs, and bodies were scattered everywhere. I saw 6 bodies lying in one field along the highway. So that was an awful, horrible event.
Yes.
Yeah. Pretty gross, right? Body parts everywhere.
Afternoon so far. What's up next?
Yeah, good. June of
What's next on the hit parade?
June of 1959 was great. Just wonderful. June 3rd, it was a Wednesday, and Amy's going to be upset about this, but the U.S. attempted to launch 4 mice into orbit
God damn it.
Aboard the satellite Discoverer 3, but the mission failed when the rockets fired the vehicle downward rather than horizontally.
Oh my God. That's kind of a big fuck up.
And the satellite burned up on reentry. Yeah. So, yeah.
Why even send mice? What are they going to do? Just run about a bit.
Very intelligent mice. They're going to do some research.
Oh my God.
You're going to solve a maze and get some moon cheese. I don't understand.
Word was that they trained one of the mice to take photos of Mars.
Tiny little Polaroid camera.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a better thing, a little bit better. June 4th, 1959 was a Thursday, and the 190th and final Three Stooges film short, Sappy Bullfighters, was released at theaters nationwide. The last Three Stooges, where in the movie they're vaudeville entertainers who trek to Mexico to perform their burlesque bullfight, with Joe as the brave matador and Moe and Larry dressed in a bull costume. Unfortunately, their gig is canceled when they arrive.
I've seen a little bit.
Oh, have you seen that one?
I've seen a little bit of the. I've seen a little bit of the old Stooges, like
the old
Stooges, but
so,
they did I believe they did a reboot
with Will Sasso. Yeah, is the big bold one.
So Moe, Larry, and Curly Molar and Curly were well, actually, Molar and Shemp were the original ones.
They were?
Yeah, Shemp was the original brother. And then
I thought Curly was before Shemp.
no, Curly was after Shemp, but he was the most famous. So when Curly got there, it really took off. I know way too much about the Stooges. So my great uncle, his father was in a group called the Bowery Boys, which was like a 30s film comedy group. And so he was friends with Shemp, which I thought was really cool. So
Bowery Boys sounds like a gang.
The Bowery Boys, yeah, the Bowery Boys. They were
a gang that would flip their leather collars up and click down the street.
Well, they were like, it was like 40s guys. They're like, hey, see, we're New York. See, yeah, I got a switchblade. See,
I know the Three Stooges,
They were the Bowery Boys, the East Side Kids, and the Dead End Kids were their three names. But if you look up Hunt's Hall, that was my great uncle's father. So it's old school. It's been in a bunch of movies. But anyway, that's Three Stooges. So everybody loves Three Stooges.
All right.
And then July 6th, 1959 was a Saturday, and the first ever satellite communication was made when a radio message from U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower was bounced off the moon to Canadian Prime Minister John Diefenbaker, who was dedicating the new Prince Albert Radio Laboratory. So we can now bounce signals off of the moon.
You said Prince Albert.
Did I say Prince Albert? Prince Albert Radio Lab.
Yeah.
It was a radio laboratory dedicated to Prince Alberts.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Prince Alberts everywhere.
I have a friend that wears a kilt who got a Prince
We don't
Albert.
need to. We don't. Come on.
And he should. One St. Patty's Day, he showed everybody in the bar as Prince Albert. It was great.
His kilt.
That's fantastic.
He lifted up his kilt. Yeah. Oh, that's Gruff from the Gruff and Loud show. Who you guys are going to meet.
I know who you're talking about, and I can tell you, I'm not entirely fucking surprised.
No. Yeah, we're gonna connect you guys at some point. Okay, now this is a great one. June 8th, 1959. Are you guys familiar with Libarace?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why. See, these young kids in Scotland are way.
They're way
hipper. They made a film about it with Michael Douglas and Matt Damon. So
oh God! So yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, he sued on June.
Candelabra behind the candelabra or something about candelabra.
Are you aware of that?
No, I don't know.
Well, on June 8th of 1959, he sued the Daily Mirror and columnist William Connor for libel after he published an article strongly hinting that Liberace was homosexual.
No
shit.
A confirmed bachelor. Liberace.
Yeah. He was awarded 8,000 pounds in damages, which I think is equal to 800 billion. No, I have no idea what 8,000 pounds.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's more than Musk.
Yeah. So one of the best quotes about this. So he won because they said, no, there's no proof that Liberace's gay. He described Liberace as the summit of sex, the pinnacle of masculine, feminine, and neuter. Everything that he, she, and it can ever want. A deadly, winking, sniggering, snuggling, chromium-plated, scent-impregnated, luminous, quivering, giggling, fruit-flavored, mincing, ice-covered heap of mother love.
Wait a minute. The judge said that?
No, no, the guy who wrote the article.
That's a glowing review. That sounds great.
Thank God.
That sounds like a Ric Flair introduction.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. Woo, baby. Rootin', tootin', limo driving, Cadillac door slamming. Yeah. But Liberace sent a telegram that read, "What you said hurt me very much, and I cried all the way to the bank."
And that's proving that he's not gay. Clearly not gay.
Yes, that's what well, and I guess in particular, what he really was upset about is that I think there was a thought that overseas in the UK there, you guys weren't aware that calling somebody fruit flavored or fruity meant someone was gay, which is kind of what was like an American term. Calling
it was also illegal at that time, right? And
probably
up
yeah.
until the
in
60s,
the UK,
it was illegal. Yeah.
So understand.
So that's part of it too. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely understandable.
People didn't come out very often.
No.
I think, so, but
No,
it's crazy that he won, though. I think that's a funny thing. And so he did reiterate after he won he repeated the catchphrase to reporters. I cried all the way to the bank because he won that money and to the bank. So that was kind of funny. That I can't believe
Damn
he
straight. Get that paper, Liberace.
Yeah. It was funny to me that anybody ever like didn't think he was gay, so it's like with George Michael.
I think probably a large fact of why he never came out would probably, one, due to the fact that, well, it was frowned upon, but also it probably would have alienated the majority of his audience, considering it was mums and older women that were like, oh, it's an attractive man playing a piano.
Yeah, they were hot for him. And women have a thing for effeminate men, like Prince. Women love Prince.
Oh yeah,
he's very effeminate. So
he's not really effeminate. He just is in drag, kind of.
Sexy guy.
Just very loud.
Spans the genders.
Yeah, he really exudes. He just exudes sex, like sexual.
Androgynous.
Sex for everybody, probably. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay, I got a little bit more in June. We'll get to Amy's in a second. On June 8th, 1959, it was a Monday. An experiment with missile mail proved successful, if not practical. So I mentioned this on a couple episodes ago. They were experimenting by delivering mail via missile to be faster, like just shooting a missile to a different town.
An explosive missile?
Yeah, I get at 10:10 a.m. the USS Barbaro launched a Regulus 1 rocket containing 3,000 letters from a point 100 miles offshore.
It's not a missile; it's a rocket.
A rocket. It says they call it missile mail.
Oh,
offshore from Norfolk, Virginia. The wheeled missile was guided to the Naval Air Station at Mayport, Florida. A parachute deployed, and it landed 22 minutes after firing. Postmaster General
That was
Arthur
my question. Is it going to land, or is it going to be like one of those planes that have a sign at the end of it that like real estate agents use?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Or if it's, I wonder why they stopped it. But Postmaster General Arthur E. Summerfield predicted that deliveries of mail by missile would become a regular practice.
Here's your divorce papers. Also, sorry about your front wall.
Seriously.
Yeah, we blew up that. And then on June 14th, which was a Sunday, beachgoers in La Jolla, California, watched 33-year-old Robert Pamperin as he was attacked and devoured by a 20-foot great white shark.
Oh my God.
While skin diving 50 yards from shore. No trace of Pamperin was ever found.
At first, I thought you meant skinny dipping.
Skin diving?
Yeah, I thought you meant skinny dipping at first when I heard that.
Is?
And I
Maybe.
thought, oh.
Is that what
do you know what skinny dipping is? Do you guys know that's swimming in the nude?
Oh, I thought, yeah. I don't know what skin diving is.
That's what he said, but I thought he meant skinny dipping.
I did say skin diving, but is that the same thing?
No, I don't think.
Diving into a pool of flesh. No wonder he got eaten by a shark.
Maybe that.
Swimming beneath the surface of the water at a considerable depth without a portable breathing device. So he didn't have, but he was like, but the shark swallowed him whole. Snorkel. They think he swallowed him whole because they never found any parts of his body anywhere.
Man.
Jesus.
So, stay away from the water. And then, are you guys familiar with the first Superman, George Reeves?
Yeah.
Yes.
And are you familiar with the Superman curse? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So everybody who plays Superman ends up tragically dying, I guess. I don't know if that's still true because Dean Cain.
It's yet to happen to Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill.
There's a couple have been fine.
He's my man crush. So
is he?
That doesn't happen. I have so much love for that man.
Yeah, I hear. Is he supposed to play Wolverine in the new X-Men? Is that a word? I heard there was rumors of that a while back. I don't know if that's still true.
I know that he was leaving the Witcher for something.
Oh. He's making a Warhammer 40K TV series, which is real nerdy. And
do you guys play Warhammer?
He's like us. He's a massive
nerd.
I make Warhammer. I've never played
it. And I've painted them.
Painted a few miniatures.
He's a massive dweeb like us. Which
I just love how I don't know if anyone's going to see this on the video of this, but Daniel is slowly descending more and more into darkness.
Yeah, it is getting darker. Yeah.
Just a shadowy figure.
Just a shadowy figure.
It's getting fucking dark now.
Yeah. Is it dangerous where you live? Is there prone to crime?
Absolutely not. Although there have been a string of car thefts, so I'd like to see someone try and steal.
Yeah, with you in it.
Still in it.
Yeah, really.
Well, back to June 16th, 1959. It was a Tuesday, and actor George Reeves, who played the title role in The Adventures of Superman, was found dead in his Beverly Hills home from a single gunshot wound to his forehead. Because the gun was wiped clean of fingerprints, there were no powder burns on his hand. The conclusion that he had killed himself had been disputed.
The forehead is a strange. If you're going to shoot yourself, it's a strange place to go for.
Yeah. I don't know that you can. Like, would you? Yeah. Why would you? Yeah. So he died in his home in Benedict Canyon in the Hollywood Hills, and you can actually. Wikipedia has the address, and you can Google it. Look in the Google Maps. It's like right in the Hollywood Hills, where it looks like in GTA 5. There's a lot of places you go. Anyway, but it happened between 1:30 and 2 a.m. on June 16th, according to the L.A. Police Department report. Now he was engaged to society playgirl Leonora Lemon, who attributed Reeves' alleged suicide to depression caused by his failed career and inability to find more work. The official story,
100%,
given by her to the police, placed her in the living room with party guests at the time of the shooting. But hearsay statements from Fred Crane, Reeves' friend and colleague from Gone with the Wind, put Lemon either inside or in direct proximity to Reeves' bedroom. According to Crane, who was not present, Bill Bliss had told Millicent Trent after the shot rang out while Bliss was having a drink that Leonora Lemon came downstairs and said, "Tell them I was down here. Tell them I was down here." A number of questionable physical findings were reported by investigators and others. Again, no fingerprints on the gun, no gunpowder on his hands. And then, but others have said that gunshot residue testing was not routinely performed in 1959. So maybe they didn't check. But the bullet that killed Reeves was recovered from the bedroom ceiling, and the spent shell casing was found under his body. 2 additional bullets were discovered embedded in the bedroom floor. All 3 bullets had been fired from the weapon found at his feet, though all witnesses agree they had only heard one gunshot.
So how many bullets?
3 bullets, but they only heard one gunshot.
When you kill yourself, you don't fire it 3 times.
I missed.
Yeah.
But
he's just like, it's like golf. He's just taking practice shots.
Oh my god!
Maybe it took 3, like because he's Superman. It's just like
that's a thought
to get through the skull.
Oh my god!
Maybe.
There was no sign of forced entry or physical evidence that a second person was in the room. But despite these unanswered questions, his death was officially ruled a suicide based on witness statements, physical evidence at the scene, and the autopsy report. But Reeves' mother thought the ruling was premature and retained attorney Jerry Geisler to reinvestigate the case as a possible homicide. But the findings of a second autopsy conducted at his request were the same as the first, except they found a series of bruises of unknown origin about the head and body, which I think that's the most suspicious thing.
Yeah. Hello.
3 bullets, 3 gunshots, and he's all bruised.
Yep, she did it.
Ms.
She took
Lemon.
a break from the party. She said she was going to powder her nose when she was actually going to murder her fiance.
Yeah, at a party? Like you go murder somebody at a party?
Yeah.
After
the fact that she made such a big thing about the fact that he was suffering depression that she then, he definitely killed himself.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Actors
very heartfelt there.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Ladd and Gig Young were reportedly skeptical of the official determination. And his Reeves friend Rory Calhoun told a reporter, "No one in Hollywood believed the suicide story." In their book, Hollywood Kryptonite, Sam Kashner and Nancy Schoenberger make a case for the involvement of MGM vice president and fixer Eddie Mannix. See, Reeves had been having an affair with his wife, Toni Mannix. And others suggested that Eddie Mannix rumored to have mafia ties, ordered Reeves killed.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
That makes sense. Like, he was
Am I right in saying that a fixer is someone that connects like actors to studios, or
yeah, like Harvey Keitel in Pulp Fiction is a fixer, right?
That kind of fixer. Okay,
is it? I don't know.
I think it's a crime thing. I think it's definitely a crime thing, like a fixer. It's like somebody
if
who
there's a body that needs being disposed.
That's
of.
right. Yeah. Or maybe that's a cleaner. They call them
cleaner. Yeah. Yeah, I think
was it
a person who makes arrangements for other people, especially of an illicit or devious kind. So like a hitman type of thing.
Okay.
Or it's also a substance used for fixing a photographic image. But I don't think that's what they mean.
That's not what they mean.
No.
I thought it said. I thought it said pornographic image at first, and then I thought.
Well, let's hope not. If he was shot.
All right, we're almost to Amy. On June 17th, 1959, a jury in London awarded Libarace $22,400 in his libel suit against the London Daily Mirror.
We already talked about that.
Yeah, I know, but this is when he.
This is the fluff I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're fluff. And June 17th, this is not fluff. June 17th was a Saturday. Well, this one says June 27th, I'm sorry. Was a Saturday. Voters in Hawaii went to the polls on the question of whether to become the 50th state of the U.S. or not. And the result was 132,938 in favor and 7,854 not. Only one of the 240 precincts went against statehood, with voters on the island of Oahu 70-18 against. I wonder what they had against it.
Well, I think that was a sovereign nation. There was a queen, I think, of Hawaii, right?
I don't know.
And
I know nothing, John.
Yeah, they shouldn't. They definitely shouldn't have joined.
Yeah.
From hearing from like native people to Hawaii, like their house prices have since they've got loads of rich white people moving there.
Yep, that's right.
It's like the house prices, like she was talking about her grand's house that was they bought for like 5,000, and it's now worth like 1.7 million.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Is it kind of like Bermuda then, where it's like a haven for rich and?
Oh yeah, even worse probably.
Right.
Yeah, and everything's probably commercialized and crazy and
touristy.
Yeah, touristy. Well, and that brings us to Amy has an event on June 28th, 1959.
I just have a little thing called the Alabama Torso Murders to talk about today.
Alabama Torso Murders.
Murders.
Keep in mind,
gruesome.
Yeah, it's going to be gruesome, but almost as gruesome. This is going to happen the same day that in Meldrum, Georgia, 17 people were burned to death while swimming.
What?
They were swimming in the Ogeechee River.
Yeah.
The beach area was beneath a 30-foot railroad trestle, and as a train moved over the bridge, 2 tanker cars exploded, sending a blanket of flames onto a crowd of 175 people swimming below. They all burned to death.
Wow.
God.
Isn't that awful? So tell us about your torso thing at the same time.
All right, I will. On the afternoon of June 28th, a torso was discovered near an abandoned house near Atalia, Alabama. The following day, another torso was found about 11 miles away in Whitney Junction. And then over the next few days, there would be reports of body parts scattered across 3 counties.
If you just find a torso on the street,
how long does it take? It's a mannequin at first, like everybody does.
Well, how do you even how long would it take you to realize it's a torso even? Like, because you're not looking for a torso.
No, I know. So authorities couldn't identify the murder victims, and with no ID, there would be no leads in the case for weeks. So they called the remains Mr. X and Mr. Y. And then an artist created sketches from what remained of the victims' faces, and the drawings were printed in Alabama newspapers. And then a tip led investigators to a farm where they met the woman behind one of the grisliest crimes in Alabama history. So hold on a second.
1,000.
The suspense here, Amy.
Yeah, that's what she's trying to do. Just keep us on the edge of our seats.
Tension.
This is hold on.
Where them torsos come from?
You want me to cut all this out? Maybe these guys could. Maybe Nathan can play a song really quick and while we wait.
This is the latest version.
Daniel, can you beatbox? That sounds like... Can either one of you guys yodel?
All right.
I can do some Hank Williams if you want.
So then the July 1st comes around, and they hold gravesite services for the two victims, and they were buried in Alabama City Cemetery. It would be 2 weeks before police were able to identify the remains.
Did they piece together the body, or did
Did they piece it together?
Well,
They tried.
they took photos of the heads, and then they gave it to a sketch artist who recreated that, and then they printed that in newspapers. And then this construction worker sees it in the newspaper, and he's like, "Hey, that looks just like these two guys who haven't shown up for like the last 2 weeks."
Oh.
So he calls
All
the
right.
police, and then it turns out that these two guys, it's 55-year-old Emmett Harper and his 48-year-old brother Lee. And they were killed about midnight on June 28th, so savagely that neither man could be identified. They were military veterans who were hired by the construction company to help with building the roads. And they both also had records for DUI. I don't know why that's important, but just in case.
Shocking.
That's-
Shocking.
I'm
Yes,
surprised
yes.
DUI existed then.
It's
Like,
terrible.
didn't everybody drink and
Drink
drive
and
in
drive,
the
yeah.
50s?
So
Yeah,
they,
because you just
is a done
whenever you
thing.
see things in the 50s, everyone's got whiskey in their office.
Everybody's
Like, everyone just wants
crashed.
to be drunk
Yeah,
the whole
that's
fucking
right.
time.
Well, there's a video. What's that video on? Is it TikTok that we saw where people are complaining about the regulations of
drinking and
I
driving.
should have the right to drink a 6-pack of beer on my way home from work. You know, like
Okay. So
Oh,
so
America.
that's America. Yeah.
they find out that these Harper brothers lived in this farm, a trailer on a farm nearby. So police go to the farm right away, and they note that the farm and the people that are working the farm, it's kind of this primitive, backward feeling about the place.
In Alabama? What?
So when police,
perhaps.
so they come in early in the morning, and the main house, unpainted, has a real long porch. On the porch, they meet 71-year-old Martin Hyatt sitting in a swing, and his 31-year-old daughter Viola.
Okay.
When-
They're both sitting on a swing together,
Yeah.
just swinging, drinking country time lemonade.
Yep. And then
Alabama.
so the police asked him if they know where the Harpers were. Martin explained they had gone to visit family, but police knew this was a lie because they had already called their family members. So within hours, 30 investigators come to the farm to search the trailer and the surrounding grounds. And Viola kept asking them what they're looking for. Police disputed that they had left town because of all their because all these belongings were left behind. So they're like, no, they
Take
didn't
anything
leave
with
town.
them. Yeah.
So she didn't respond when they said that. She just walked away. During the search, police found the door to the trailer had been shot, and the trailer was all trashed. There were blood stains all around the trailer, and a bloodied axe was found.
Oh.
A hat with blood and hair was
God.
found in the trunk of the brother's car.
Ooh.
Authorities right away arrest all three of Martin, his wife, Jesse, and the daughter Viola.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
They learned that Viola had at one time dated one of the men. And so they questioned her for like 6 hours. And at one point she said she saw her neighbor go in to the brother's trailer, but they found out that wasn't true. So they asked her again, does she know anything? So finally she breaks down and tells him she did it. She killed
him.
She did. She was indicted, 31 years old,
Christ.
on 2 counts of murder by a Calhoun County grand jury. She was scheduled to go on trial September 28th. She was described as a sturdy and obese woman with long black hair and angry. She was described as angry too.
So is sturdy and obese different than like what, floppy and obese? Like it's like
I don't know. I guess she wouldn't blow over in a hurricane. Right.
would she blow over in a hurricane? That's not what I'm asking.
All right.
She
Police
got roots.
Yeah. Police quoted Miss
Would
Hyatt
she
as
cause
saying,
significant damage if she ran into a door?
that's a good measure.
How big is she?
So police quoted Miss Hyatt as saying she shot the brothers in the face with her daddy's 12-gauge shotgun and then chopped them up because they had abused her. She said she chopped up the men with her daddy's double-bit axe and deposited their remains through all 3 counties, throwing a leg out here and an arm there and rolling out the faceless torsos in different places.
Faceless torsos.
So let's go back a little bit. Virginia Violet Hyatt was born February 3rd, 1929.
Okay.
Her mother died when she was very young, and that left her and her father, Martin Hyatt, alone. So he hooks up with this Jessie Wheeler and marries her. She was in her mid-30s, so she was a lot younger than him.
Okay.
So he gets her because he needs somebody to take care of Viola. But from the beginning, Viola hated Jessie. They lived on the 40 acres and had a mule at White Plains, at a community about 15 miles northeast of Anniston. Corn and cotton, plus a hardy garden and gatherings of pigs and chickens fed the family and prospered the farm. So Jessie, the mother-in-law, the stepmother, she soon realized that she would have her hands full with Viola, that she was used to getting her way. She insisted on it every time. She was known to be mean and violent. She was said to stab bullfrogs as they tried to escape.
Poor
The
bullfrogs.
old torturing animals.
Yeah, the animal torture.
She had very deep emotional disturbances. Despite that, she enjoyed Southern gospel music and frequented local area churches.
Oh, that's nice.
Woman of God.
Going to
Right.
church doesn't mean shit.
Exactly. The Hyatts were isolated on that farm. So after school, Viola never socialized with other kids. She was always right by her dad's side. He taught her to shoot when she was just 7 years old. She would shoot robins out of trees and possums in the yard. And she also hated the hogs on the farm. At 13, she asked her father when he planned to butcher the hogs because she wanted to watch.
Ooh.
At the time of her arrest, 30-year-old Violet was said to be sleeping in her father's room. Martin said that Viola just liked taking care of people. So there was some kind of weird vibe with the dad and the daughter.
Yeah.
The Harper brothers were tenants at the Hyatt farm.
Mhm.
The men, who had placed a small trailer near the main house, kept to themselves and drank a lot. Lee and Violet dated, but the exact nature of their relationship was never clear. The men had moved there in 1956. Martin, the dad, had made a deal with these men that if they paid a little more in rent, Viola would cook and clean and run errands for them. And then this also meant that she would be available for sex with them whenever they wanted it. So
Oof.
it was kind of unknown how much say Viola had in this arrangement. She was involved with both of them in 1959. When she confessed, she wrote a 10-page letter, and that told police she had been intimate with both men. But that one night, everything went wrong and they crossed a line. She said Lee Harper held a knife to her throat and forced her into a sex act while her brother watched. She also claimed that the men would get drunk and abuse her father as well. She said she shot them because she couldn't take the abuse anymore. Then later, she claimed her story wasn't true. She explained that a little after midnight on Sunday, she got her dad's shotgun and walked out to the trailer and knocked. Then when Lee opened the door, he quickly closed the door when he saw the shotgun. And then she shot into the door, opened it, then shot him in the face. Emmett was also there and then shot in the face. So then Viola walks back into the Hyatt's house to replace the shotgun and then moves the car close to the trailer door, tries to lift the men, but realizes she can't lift them. So she remembers how to butcher the hogs. So she goes, gets the axe, butchers the remains, and then dumps the torsos and limbs into the trunk of the car and headed out the Whiskey Trail, named that because it was a favorite trail for bootleggers. She threw the remains out of the car, then went home, freshened up, and went to church with her dad. Late that afternoon, she went back to the trailer to clean up the murder scene. So then the police go to investigate, and they discover that she'd been calling the brothers other places of employment and telling the boss that they were visiting their mother who was in the hospital and that they were not back yet. And that cast suspicion on her. So they let Martin and Jesse release Martin and Jesse. They don't think they have anything to do with it. They make Viola go back to the farm, show them what happened, where she threw the bodies out and stuff. So then she goes to trial, and the defense has a hard time because she won't say why she did it, and she won't ever again say that they abused her and all that stuff happened. She doesn't ever say that again. So they can't defend her. So they try to do a plea of insanity. She goes for a couple months into a mental hospital. And then when she comes back out, they put her on trial and they give her about 10 years. And then
10 years?
Yeah, about 10 years is all.
That's it.
But they had
That seems like a very short amount.
well, because she did a guilty plea for both murders. In exchange for that, she would get life instead of the electric chair. But she was eligible for parole after 10 years. So basically it's 10 years.
Okay.
And she was like a model inmate in prison. Everybody liked her. They paroled her after like 7 years. So her stepmother, Jessie, who had always been terrified of Viola, had a massive heart attack and died on the day Viola was released from prison, which is weird.
Wow.
After her prison release and before her death, Viola lived a quiet life in a trailer park. She was a physically large lady who sat on her porch and read her Bible. Her neighbors described her as a friendly person who was quiet and stayed to herself. Viola's pastor said she had prayed for forgiveness while watching an evangelist on TV and that she loved Jesus. The real story is something that Viola took to her grave when she died at a hospital in Jacksonville in June of 2000. And that's the story of the Alabama torso slayer.
That's
Y'all.
nuts.
That is
So
mad.
don't you just have to be insane to like rip
Chop
up a
someone
body and throw the parts out? Like
I would think.
you
No
can't,
idea.
like a sane person.
And not feel so guilty that you have to turn yourself in.
If you've
Right?
been
Just the
abused,
act of doing that would have to make you insane. Like just to do two bodies, ripping their torsos up and throwing them legs and arms and knees, that's insane.
yeah.
I just can't imagine sawing somebody's head off. Like that's the worst part to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of bits.
It's
in
just
there.
chopping the whole thing up into little bits, and she's like, but it's the fact that she was like, "Oh, this is going to be tough to carry, so easy transportation. I'll just cut them up, and you know, I
Right.
can't put them all in."
It's logical.
It's like when you chop up a credit card, you don't put them all in the same bin. You put them into different bins.
Distribute them.
Ugh.
Oh, you're supposed to do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Put it in the same bin.
And of
I
course-
do is I like put the first, I throw it out in the trash and then wait for them to pick it up, and then I put the second half in the trash the next week.
I'm not really smart.
But you're very attractive, so
Well, thank you.
you might be getting scammed soon, Amy.
Yeah, I know. Oopsie.
So why don't we move on to Nathan has something
Yeah.
cool that happened at the end of 59. So we're gonna just take a pin right here at the end of June and jump to the end because we have a Scottish story?
Yeah, all the way to the chilly December.
And you're
in
an
the-
expert in this topic, right? Because
I did
you did a report at uni.
Yeah,
as you guys say.
I did some interviews with Bob Richmond and Andrew Jeffrey, who one of them owns or is a part of the Tamara charity, and one of them is a local Scottish historian. I did some archival research on this to do a sound project for a uni course, which, shameless plug, is available on Creative Dundee under the Creative Practice Research bit.
I'm in it.
Starred
You're in it?
Daniel here. Daniel's in it.
I'm in it.
It's a bit odd, but you can listen to that if you want. For
Tell me again how to find it.
So it's on Creative Dundee.
Yeah.
And it is under the original features tab in what's the 6th month? June, July, one of them of last year. But yeah, it's about the Mona Lifeboat disaster of 1959. So on the evening of the 7th of December 1959, a harsh southeasterly storm rolled into the east coast of Scotland, causing dangerous conditions on the waters surrounding northeast Fife and the Angus area. The North Car, a light ship built by A&J Inglis in 1932, was stationed in the waters surrounding Fife Ness in order to warn ships of the jagged rocks looming around the coastline. The North Car was to be caught in this storm, with the lives of the crew threatened by the tumultuous waves. At around 2 a.m. on the 8th of December, the North Car's main anchor snapped under the strain of the storm. Now, the North Car is an engineless vessel, its hull taken up by crew's quarters, kitchens, and common areas, the captain's quarters, and the giant room housing the vessel's compressor equipment necessary to help support the Foghorn's astounding 10-mile hoot. To this end, the North Car would have been unable to save itself, requiring tugboats to bring it to and from their operational position. They had but one course of action to buy time for the rescue operation: to drop their supporting anchor, radio for help, and wait. After deploying this weaker secondary anchor, the lightship began to drift towards the rocks of Fife Ness, the supporting anchor dragging along the seafloor. A distress signal went out to the nearby lifeboat station in Anstruther, Fife. However, the lifeboat teams there and in Arbroath, Angus, were unable to launch their rescue ships due to the conditions at sea, and so the responsibility fell upon the crew of the Mona Watson-class lifeboat and its crew, stationed in Broughty Ferry, which is around 4 miles from the city of Dundee, which is where I'm telling this story now. I'll give you the names of the Mona's crew who set out in the early hours of the 8th of December 1959. So we had John Grieve Sr., aged 56, Alexander Gall, 56, George Smith, 53, James Ferrier, 43, David Anderson, 42, George Watson, 38, Ronald Grant, 28, and John Grieve Jr., aged 22. So a father and son were on this boat. The reason that the Mona was able to launch was given to Broughty Ferry's location just within the mouth of the Tay River estuary. The tide here was sheltered from the worst of the storm, and so at 3:13 a.m., the Mona and her crew launched and began battling their way over the sandbar line, which lined the mouth of the Tay River. This battle was hard fought. Given the prevailing southeasterly gales, combined with the ebb of the Tay River moving out towards the North Sea, the Mona had tremendous difficulty in breaching the sandbar, with a sharp breaking sea harrying their attempts. A radio message sent to Fife Ness from the Mona at this time read, "We're just hanging on." An hour and 35 minutes later, at 4:48 a.m., the North Car sent up a maroon, a red flare, and the Mona radioed Fife Ness to confirm they had seen it, adding that they were just clear of the bar. This would be the last thing heard from the Mona and her crew. The crew member atop the North Car's light tower following the Mona's navigation lights, which bobbed above and behind waves until 5:39 a.m., at which point they disappeared. Meanwhile, aboard the North Car, the secondary anchor had held long enough for a team of Sycamore helicopters to perform one of the first air-sea rescue missions and get the crew safely back to dry land. A picture of the crew enjoying a fair few well-earned pints was hung in a Broughty Ferry pub, but this was much to the outrage of many living in the town. As they drank, the North Car began to drift out into the North Sea and was found a while later halfway to Denmark, apparently quite content. Later in the morning of December 8, 1959, a man named Bill Fodd was walking his dog on a beach near to Carnoustie, which is a town lying between Broughty Ferry and Arbroath on the Angus coast, and spotted a blinking red light just in the water, out in the water. Investigating, he soon discovered the body of Johnny Grieve Jr., the Mona's mechanic and son of John Grieve Sr., lying in the sand. At the same time, Davy Mearns, once rescued by the Mona Lifeboat, was on duty in Carnoustie and spotted the Mona on the beach. Leaving a hurried note on the desk of the Coast Guard station, he cycled to Broughty Ferry to alert the Mona's home station before returning to the scene. As much as I can gather from the recording of the interview that I did last year. Davy Mearns arrived at the beach at around the same time as the Sycamore helicopters arrived to investigate and hopefully rescue anyone on board. As the tide briefly rolled out, Davy Mearns leaped aboard the Mona to find the starboard railing smashed, 3 engine room ventilators torn from the deck, the mast collapsed, and a body laying against the railing. Opening the forehatch and shouting down, Davy then descended into the hull to find 5 more bodies within, one being Johnny Grieve Sr., halfway in the engine room hatch, another being the young Ronnie Grant, still laying against the wheel, which turned with the tide, pushing and pulling against the rudder. The body of George Watson, whose pullover was found on deck, was never recovered. No one knows exactly how the under crew went down. One theory lies in the evidence that the engine room hatch was open and the body of John Grieve Sr. found halfway within. It was apparently common practice that the engine room was never to be opened on a Watson-class lifeboat once a voyage was underway, unless in the case of dire emergency. This, along with the missing ventilators on deck, some of which were stuffed shut with the kit of George Watson, point to a malfunction of the engine. Also, given that the mast had collapsed, it's thought that once the Mona had cleared the bar, it had attempted to turn and tow the line of the sea. If this maneuver had been attempted with a faulty engine producing less power, it is possible that the mast broke and rolled the lifeboat over, causing the deaths of its crew. Again, this is conjecture based on what was found on the morning of December 8th, and no one can know the exact events. After routine court sessions with the widowed family members of the crew, members of the North Car crew, and workers of the Broughty Ferry life station, the Mona was burned on a beach near Edinburgh, as it was found to be unfair to put a new crew on a disaster boat. There was an outpouring of support from the Broughty Ferry community, including community funds for the bereaved families and a clamour of volunteers to replace the lost crew. The North Car continued its service until the late 1970s, at which point it was put on display in Fife, its moorings here causing considerable damage to the hull. Destined for the scrapyard, the North car was purchased by the Tamar charity. It is now moored in the Victoria docks at Dundee City Quay, although it is now closed to the public due to the heavy damage it has received over the years. However, a team of extremely dedicated individuals now work tirelessly to restore much of the North car's equipment, though they are in need of much greater funding, as well as a dry dock, in order to fully restore Scotland's last known lightship. That is the story of the Mona Lifeboat disaster.
Ooh, that was good. I bet
And you
that's
can
haunted.
come in if you guys ever come to Dundee, we can take you to go and see it.
Yeah.
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 We can
I bet
take
that's
you to
haunted
see
as
it.
hell.
Yeah.
We've got a couple. There's a couple of ships in Dundee. That being one of them. There's also the Unicorn, which is a warship that was used in the First World War and had been used hundreds of years previously. And there's also a ship called the Discovery, which was the first ship to be built for scientific research, which was and it got stuck in Antarctica for 3 years, from 1901 until 1902 until 1904, when it was rescued by the Terra Nova, which was the ship that took the Captain Scott to the South Pole, where he died, tried to reach the South Pole because he was beaten by the Norwegian Roald Amundsen.
Oh wow.
Dundee's got a big connection to ships and shipbuilding.
So
that was the industry before.
Were most of the crew on that lifeboat from the area?
From Broughty Ferry, they would have been, almost all of them. It was common practice back then for lifeboat crews to be voted in by the rest of the crew, and so you usually knew people. And there was if you just let me get up the names again. Ronald Grant, who was 28-year-old, he was the coxswain, so he would call out the orders and stuff. And it was his very first call, his first time being out on the waves, and everyone was very staunchly supporting him. He had a very experienced crew behind him, and a lot of people were quite quick to blame it on him, but people stood up for him and said, no, he had this experienced crew behind him. They trusted him. But yeah, it was a big thing. I did some archival research during this at the Dundee City Archives, which is great. They'll let people in if you want to research stuff. And you sort of go through the court proceedings of these, of the following investigation. And there's because it's very dry the way it's written out, there's still a lot of emotion to be drawn from it. It's really interesting stuff, reading through all these court proceedings and that.
Yes,
cool.
I would imagine their families probably have memorials all the time. A
lot of them still are around, as far as I heard. Andrew Jeffrey was telling me he knew a few of the sort of descendants of them. The widow of the Greaves, the father and son who died quite soon after. Her husband and son died apparently. So
tragic. Yeah,
good job.
The sea is dangerous. It doesn't want us in it.
Last week again.
Yeah.
Billionaire idiots.
Oh God, yeah.
We're talking about that. Yeah.
Christ.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah.
We should probably end it in June.
Yeah, we'll end here and then we'll jump in July because next month, if you want to listen to the next episode, we have I have the story of the three Christs, three crazy guys who all claim to be Jesus.
Nice. Love it.
And some psychologists moved them all in together to see what would happen. So just a preview of next.
I can't wait. I can't wait
for that.
So we will end here though, but thank you, Daniel,
thank you guys so
Nathan.
much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us again.
Yeah,
Thanks for staying up late into the wee hours. In Scotland, it's only 6 p.m. here.
Yeah, I gotta go make dinner.
And now, Amy's got to make dinner because I don't know how to cook. But thank you guys for listening. So check out,
learn how to cook. Damn it! Take some of the strain off of your dear suffering wife.
Yeah, I know.
Learn how to cook.
Check out at least 4 Prats on YouTube. Prats, is that how you say it? At least 4 Prats. I say it. Prats. Prats. Check out creativedundee.com. I'm looking on there. I don't know exactly how to find it. So do you just Google search on there?
Creative Dundee. Yeah, you go into
Search
latest
Lifeboat,
projects.
maybe.
I think it's called Muckross was what I did, and there are a bunch of other stuff from people on my course, very talented writers and creators.
Yeah,
stuff
Creative Dundee.
Well.
Look outside the box, people. Listen to something new. Go to Scotland and read some things.
Yeah.
You got any music coming out, Nate?
I released an album recently called Hoshino Coffee, which is available on Spotify and Amazon Music and stuff. That's there to listen to.
Nathan
even if
Fordyce,
you hate it.
right?
That's the one.
Yeah. So what kind of coffee is it?
Hoshino, Hoshino coffee.
Okay. Sweet. Check that out. Check. Oh, there it is. Oops, damn, I keep hitting the wrong button. Hoshino Coffee is an album available. Yeah, it's everywhere. I just found it on Bandcamp. Support artists, make it indie artists doing stuff cool. Scottish people. Daniel, you got anything creative coming out besides the 4 Prats?
Really, that's really all I have time for at the moment. Still trying to get back into my writing a few TV shows.
Okay.
Getting that on the go. I'm away to start working on a sitcom about working in a kitchen. Because I'm a chef.
Yeah.
And some of the funny shit that goes on in kitchens needs to be out there.
What's the last thing you made as a chef? What's the last dish you made?
Oh, Christ.
You've been working on the asparagus recently, haven't you?
Yeah, I've now moved on. We're in the middle of Scottish courgette season, so I'm working with zucchinis to you Americans.
Oh,
so I'm doing a little zucchini dish at the moment. It's got
Yum.
some cherry tomatoes, some oregano.
Okay.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Oh,
Very, very summery flavors.
Slather that in cheese, and I'm on board.
Yeah.
There is
Southern
cheese.
gravy.
There is whipped goat curds on that. Yeah, it's some good shit.
Yeah, this guy doesn't mess
All right.
around. Anyway, thank you for listening.
It's time to get out of here, Chuck Berry.
Yeah, time to get out of Chuck Berry and check out the Scottish friends, everything they're doing. And thanks for listening, everybody. You guys want to say goodbye?
Bye.
Bye 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 bye.
Bye.
I can't wait for Friday night, so I can go out on the weekend and ruin my life. I'm gonna drink and drive and crash my car. I'll tell the policeman that I'm a star. Yeah, 'cause you and me, we're birds of a feather. Yeah, we only like the bands who worship the devil. Yeah, you like to drink the blood of the goat. Now, baby, I can tell. So take my hand, let me lead you down the hell. Yeah.
Matt Sherman Ego Trip is the greatest band of all time. Buy their music.